Gee, we're right next to this huge praying mantis here. And that's pretty appropriate for us for this segment that we're going to do, which this segment is all about what Annie and I call sexually rigged. And that is the realization that sexuality in this convention is rigged. And it's interesting that we're in front of this praying mantis because the female praying mantis, after she's made love with the male praying mantis, she decapitates the male and then eats him, basically. And it is amazing in nature. It is so incredible, actually, that this is the very kind of thing, in a way, that's happening to him on the earth. He is the one who is sold I-E-R, as in a soldier, and he is the one who is penalized, meaning to be punished, not clitoralized. And we don't call it to be punished to be clitoralized. Could you imagine actually growing up in a culture, and just imagine right now that you're really small and that you're a girl, and that you heard to be punished was to be clitoralized, and that you would be sent to pry daughter, not pry son, and that you would be girl codded, not boycotted. And that it was a femality, meaning something, a malady. Everything that means male in our English language means something that's not formed properly. So if something wasn't formed properly, they say male formed, this would be called female formed. If you were singled out, it would not be called black male, but it would be called white female. And we're living in a convention where the language and the convention itself is sexually rigged against him in her favor. So it's very interesting that we're so advanced as a society. We've sent probes out into the universe, and we've got people floating around the Earth in outer space and this sort of a thing. And it is so amazing that we sent one of these probes out, which has gone all the way out toward Pluto. People, when they put this probe together and everything, they thought, oh my God, we're sending this probe out into the universe, and maybe someone can find this. And then when they find it, it would be like a time capsule of what's going on the Earth and this sort of thing. And so they decided they would put a few things in there just in case somebody would find it. They could look inside and they could say, my God, look, here's some things perhaps happening on Earth, and this sort of thing. They put a picture of a man and a woman in their nakedness. They could put a penis on the man, but they could not put a vagina on the woman. We're so sophisticated, matter of fact, that we could send this fancy piece of apparatus out there, but we're not so internally developed enough that we're so immature that we could put a penis on him, but we could not put a vagina on her. And I've just been wandering around this compound, which is, there's a museum on this compound, and there's artwork and this sort of thing, and it's not uncommon to find the kinds of things in this museum that you would find in any museum, really. Anyway, I looked around the museum, and I saw penises in many, many places in this museum, and I looked and looked and looked, and I searched. And the director and I searched in the museum to look for a vagina, and there was not, of course, any vagina to be found anywhere. They presented men in a way that they were sitting like that, and they even had men who were sexually mutilated, where the covering of the penis completely had been cut away, and this was a sexually mutilated person, basically. So many places around the Earth, there are anatomically correct statues of men, and even sexually mutilated men, and yet there really isn't, that I know of, a anatomically correct statue of a female naked anywhere. And so the Oedipus complex, which Freud wrote about, and he in this convention suffers more from Oedipus complex than what she does. And of course, he stripped naked to be naked in front of his mother, and more than likely at some point she covers herself, mum covers herself, and where there is a healthy curiosity in him that's stifled, he may never quite have matured past that point, and there may have been something that was taken away from him as part of this formula that the priests and the politicians have welded together. Really, they have welded together a convention that causes us to have a pool of slaves that will commit legalized sin. These are young boys by the tens of thousands in this country. Since the First World War to the Korean War alone, 100 million young boys were murdered, and the average age of these young boys was 18. The priests and the politicians have welded this convention together so that a generative image is put in her hands of a human form, and an instrument of death is put in his hands. The gun is an instrument of death, and just the same as perhaps a syringe could be symbolic of somebody who was a junkie, it would be like, giving your young boys a syringe and telling them to go play junkie, basically, as far as having given them an instrument of death. The other thing is also that most of all of the humour, all of the cartoons and things are based on his body being used for battery. In all of the entertainment at the present moment, people pay a lot of money, and basically his body is being used for battery, while her body is used for attraction. And this causes us to have a language left behind emotionally in ourselves in the way that we view each other. And there is no logical reason why males the world over would have committed suicide, but males are known as a suicide sex the world over. Males die of all 15 leading causes of disease before she does. And if I were from Venus and I came down and I started to look around and I was looking for signs of slavery, I might have a few behaviours. One might be, well, let me look to see is there a certain kind of person who dies on the job. It is interesting that 97 times out of 100, if you find somebody dead at work, that is typically going to be a male's body that you find dead at work. 97% of all the violence that's done on TV is done to his body. And it's amazing that the viewers, you could easily go to Jackson Hole any day of the week, and for the tourists, every day of the week there's two good-looking men that walk toward each other and they murder each other, and everybody claps. And then one day out of the week, they take a good-looking man and they hang him, and everybody claps. But if two good-looking women walk toward each other to kill each other like that, I don't think people would really clap at all. And certainly we would be horrified at wanting to hang a good-looking woman. Why would we want to hang her? And so violence at the present moment is being practiced on his body, and many displays, art displays and things like what is on this compound is very sexually rigged. His body is exposed in public, but her body is not. And where there was a healthy curiosity that he had at an early age, this was stifled, maturity may less than be forthcoming past that point, unless this again is given back, and he is topless in this convention. And if you ask a person who is the master, they will tell you the person wearing the clothes, and who is the slave, people will tell you the person who is naked represents more the slave. So we live in a world which is very sexually rigged, and this convention that we live in is extremely rigged, yet in our heart parts we're gender neutral. So anyway, I hope some of the points that we've raised, these controversial points, can spark your interest to learn more about this and communicate some of the things that you have as your feelings that are about this. Anyway, I hope you're having a really great day as you're listening to this segment, and I guess we'll catch up to each other in the future. Hope.
Tea beverage here, a chai tea.
Chai tea we just made.
That we just made that's absolutely delicious. It's got ginger in it and cardamom.
Cardamom, a little Celtic sea salt, and actually we use warm water for this, so we really warmed it up. Ginger is so amazing. That's one of the major herbs, actually. If you go to a Chinese practitioner, ginger is probably one of the most prescribed herbs. I don't think that we prescribe it.
Why not? We recommend it. It's very good for circulation and really good for the winter months, keeping you warm.
Amazing for your tummy. But now what we're going to do is we're going to make a Electrolyte Lemonade, right?
Ooh, this is our favorite healing beverage that's absolutely essential for the 14-day nutritional fast.
So we're going to start by bringing in some charged water, which if you would love to copy down the number at the end of the show here, it's possible to call that number and get hold of a book on how to go about making charged water.
We've written a wonderful recipe book on it.
This is charged water, which is like structured water. Go ahead, we'll put the lemons in.
Okay, these are peeled lemons. We just took the yellow part off, and we're leaving the white part on because these bioflavonoids help us, deal with the vitamin C that's inside of it.
And there's a lot of flavonoids in the white of the lemon.
We're going to put a whole pear in because it gives it a really beautiful texture, a wonderful body.
Seeds and all.
You can do seeds and all with a good blender like this, the Vitamixer.
Yeah, it is really amazing unit.
Okay, and David's got his really raw honey here, which he adores. I'm going to put a nice amount of honey in to sweeten it up so it's not too tangy. We're going to put some Celtic sea salt in this as well. You'll notice we put Celtic sea salt in a lot of our beverages. It really helps with digestibility. This is sun-dried ocean water, where every living thing lives in the ocean, right? And a lot of the salt that they get today, all of the table salt, comes from Dead Seas, or the Salt Lake, which has absolutely nothing living in it. So the living salt is like an amazing nutrient, a wonderful food. And we're going to put, about a quarter teaspoonful in there.
So it's a bit more than a quarter teaspoon.
Put a nice little glass in there.
We have some propolis here, which is really the blood of the trees, the sap of trees that the bees collected. We're going to put a little propolis in there because that helps really pick up the life value of this beverage.
It's optional, but it really is wonderful because it's a natural antibiotic, isn't it?
We're going to put some coconut in here as well.
So this is coconut butter. This comes from Omega Flow, and there's only a couple companies that make a really high-quality coconut oil. Omega Flow is one of them. It's a living, cold-pressed coconut butter.
Is that it, Annie?
I think that's it. If you wanted to, you could put more ginger in it. You could put a little cayenne if you want to. This is your basic recipe.
And you put a pear in here. You could choose a piece of fruit, to change the flavor a little bit. You could put less honey in. You could just sweeten it with a little fruit if you love. You could put stevia, which is a very sweetening herb, which you did not want to use sugar at all. So we've got
You could use stevia.
Are we ready to turn this on now?
That's plan. We'll put it on high for about 2 minutes. from different ailments, especially AIDS and, degenerative diseases where they need to get their functioning back.
Modified citrus pectin, which has been shown in research that helps block metastasizing and this sort of thing for people who have neoplastic cells and that. This is a major part of our program actually for cleansing and that. And it's amazing because the coconut that we brought into this is going to allow a lot of these nutrients to be absorbed through lacteal ducts, in the villi of our intestinal tract, which absorbs more lymph and fats and things, and this is going to bypass the liver. So it is really amazing. It is delicious.
It's a healing food, and it's a delicious beverage for a hot sunny day, or add a little ginger to it and it'll warm you up in the winter time. It's an amazing beverage to have in the fridge. So check it out. It's really good. The oil in it makes it just very, very creamy. It's wonderful. So anyway, check it out. This is called the Electrolyte Lemonade. If you need to find out more information about it or how to make these kind of foods yourself, we have a recipe book. There's a couple other recipe books out on the market about living foods, live food nutrition. And stay tuned. This is The Universe Inside Our Mind. Dr. David Jubb, and I'm Annie Jubb. Yeah.
Welcome everybody to the Universe Inside Our Mind. This particular segment, I thought that would be a great idea for us to talk about what Annie and I call the physiology of excellence. How we breathe, how you hold yourself, how you pronounce your words, whether you use your hands to communicate. This is all to do with the physiology of excellence. It is. So the body is the mind's experience of itself. Everything that we perceive through our body. And what one's ingrained predicament causes one to perceive phenomena in a way where one is attaching to their ongoing experience the meaning of what is sensory based. So for instance, if I was sitting on a steep incline, could you imagine sitting in a steep incline in your car with your foot on the brake, and just out of the periphery of your vision, you see the car beside you creeping ever forward like this. Doesn't that cause you to kind of want to put your foot even further on the brake, And the reason why is because your ingrained predicament is that you're on this hill, and even though the car beside you was what creeped forward, it caused you to have a feeling like perhaps, because you were on the hill, that your ingrained predicament was that you were going to roll back. And so you pushed your foot even further on the floor. Those things that are imagined, these things which are imagined, and those things which are real, the body perceives the same way. We perceive everything through the use of our body. So can you just imagine actually that you just got onto a train, and we're just all of us, we're about to go in this direction, and you got on the train, and you're just about to go, and you notice that the train beside you starts to, on the other side of the platform, starts to go in that direction. Most people, when they see that, you'll notice that everybody sort of leans a little bit like as if they're preparing themselves for their own train to be shifted, and they felt as if their train is being shifted. So those things that are imagined and these things which are real, the body perceives the same way. Maybe if you're like me, you've had the experience of going, well, I'm just going to go for a walk. And you went for a walk and you felt better. It wasn't like you had thought about anything, but you just went for a walk and you felt better. You walked this off. And the body is the mind's experience of itself. How we're feeling in our body is how the mind perceives. So, some people actually, they've been walking around, and maybe they've been walking around, like this, and I'm kind of like really exaggerating this, but, a lot of up and down going on there. And actually, you really could say that any movement at all information that's at the deepest of the other than conscious level. So maybe you've seen this out there. You know, people sort of walking around like this, you know. This is somebody who really has been moved laterally in their life. They literally have been moved sideways a lot and have not graduated or moved forward, but have been moved laterally. And here's somebody who is increasing their territory. These kinds of things are obvious to all of us watching, but to the person who is doing this, they might not have any sense that they're doing this. It is amazing. We have this reptilian complex, which is a leftover remnants of the evolution of ourselves. All reptiles have this part of our brain, which we call the reptilian complex, which is like the brain stem, basically. And at this level, this is an insight on through movement. And so the female lizard, she sort of does this kind of little number, right? And you'll notice that she does that. And the male lizards, they puff themselves up like this. So what is happening at below consciousness is manifests itself through the kind of body movements and things that we have. So the physiology of excellence is the use of our body to access state-specific behavior that allows us to live more in the whole of ourselves, more in excellence. How we breathe, whether I use my hands or, you know, like they say that if you tie Italians' hands behind their back, that tends to be the end of their ability to talk, apparently. Our hands are so important, actually, in some cultures, more important than others. Perhaps if you came from Victorian England, you'd speak a little bit with a stiff upper lip, and you might not move your hands very much. So we could be moving like this, we could be moving up and down like that, you know. And so how we walk, how we open a car door is indicative of information happening below our conscious experience. It tends to be. And so, you know, the people in the institutes, you know, that have let go, usually this muscle's activated, this muscle's activated, these muscles are activated, pulling the arms in, this muscle's activated, pulling the arms in here like that, and the person can have, and this sternomastoid muscle is activated like this, and the person can actually be, you know, if you see somebody who has let go, you might see the person in their kinesthetic self more like this, with all the muscle groups which are flexing the person and taking them into themselves. These muscles are preferentially linked to states of feeling less than excellent. When a person is feeling powerful and feeling grounded and support in themselves, the muscles which raise and hold us up against the Earth's gravitational field are the very muscles that are involved and preferentially linked in the brain to states of feeling support and power. So muscles which extend and open us up are connected, wired to brain processes more involved in feelings of support and power. Muscle groups which are flexors, which draw us into ourself, are generally associated more with protective and reflexive, protective learned activity. They tend to be more involved in inhibition and aversion, these muscle groups drawing me into myself. So you may be sitting, or you could be just standing listening to this program, maybe you're sitting. Now check out right now how relaxed your tummy is, how relaxed your shoulders are, how relaxed is your face and your hands. These are some questions that you might love to ask yourself. You might love to ask yourself during the day, what am I doing right now? You know, what am I doing right now that's adding another day to my life? That's such a wonderful question to ask ourselves. What am I doing right now that's adding another day to my life? Is my breathing quietened down and my heart rate quietened down? We're only given so many breaths and so many heartbeats, and it's possible that people can have used them up long before was really necessary. And most of us actually die prematurely. So I know we've only got just a little bit left of this segment, and I'd love to just say something small about breath and we'll wrap this up. Did you know that you are living in inspiration as there's been a conscious attunement to the inspirative aspect of the breath? Through the nose. There's a big difference if you were choosing a mate for life and you watched this person come out on the balcony in the morning and they came out and one person went like this and the other person went. Big difference, huh? Big difference. The body is the mind's experience of itself. Anyway, I hope that this segment of this program, The Universe Inside Our Mind, has sparked your interest to learn more, become a bit more conscious about the way that you use your body, and that the body is the mind's experience of itself.